Hi, this is Viv. This is my drone project for the 216 class, SolidWorks. The introduction for the project was to make a package or something to carry a package to other people. We were given this box in SolidWorks and the requirements were to have more than 10 consisting parts and gear mates for motion, having some kind of power source, and the dimensions obviously to fit the package. And under those expectations, I came up with 3 sketches. Um, the first one being this circular outside form in which that I would have a square opening to enclose it, but I figured that that shape might be a little difficult to recreate in SolidWorks in comparison to a box or something more rectangular. Even a oval would be, just because the sides of the would have to be more oval like, and I found that to be difficult. One of them down here was a box shape, and I thought about making trusses with propellers on top of it to carry it and have that kind of hot air balloon look. And the third one was this fish design that I was just having fun with in the end, which was a little combination of the previous box. Ultimately, I did go with that one, and I thought that I would end up creating this truss part on the top, but I did not do it. And the 10 parts I came up with were the body, the lid, the battery, the legs, the tail, the fins, and the truss, and the propellers, and the wheels, and the chip, or the controller, which I did end up using Raspberry Pi. When I selected this one, or in comparison to the other ones, based on 1 to 10 being like cheapest to cost, I did end up picking a material for them, and it was all steel because I thought that would be the most simple one to account for. So I googled, and there are different prices and different ranges based on the steel, so I couldn't really say, but I'm sure that it's not as expensive in comparison to other products. So I gave it like I think I gave it like a 7. And then for sustainability and resources, the battery usage, the battery has like a solar panel on top of it, so I gave it, I think, maybe a 5, but it's still like not a reusable battery almost, because it just has that just to like as a backup, so it is battery operated for the most part, so I gave it like a 5. um and the other one, the last one, I think creativity wise, I think aesthetically, I went with a more artist perspective than um, more operational, but in that way. So the first part I started off with was the body, and it was just a square that I extruded and shelled out, just a little larger than the dimensions of the package we were given. The next part I started working on was the wings on the side of the fish. Just for maybe not functional purposes, maybe it does serve some purposes to fly, but the hardest part was defining this line and getting it to look this way. It was a perfect curve on the top without any gaps because I measured it be 25 in width, but only 12.5 to be the chamfer and the fillet on the top. And the other 2 parts that I created after that were the propellers, which I used a sketch of like 3 circles anytime I need to use like something that has like a 3 format prong. And I ended up making 4 of those. I created 4 of those parts during the assembly, and I think my face is blocking it, but I googled Raspberry Pi for the chip I was using, and I tried to recreate that as best as I could in SolidWorks to make a controlling chip for the drone. And the sixth and seventh part, the lid and battery, I show these side by side because the battery has its own interlocked place on the top of the lid, just because it has to be on top because there's solar, like little solar panels on the top to power it as like a last effort, just in case it runs out. I thought that was an idea. I'm not sure. I'm sure I got it from somewhere. I don't take credit for it, but on the bottom of the lid there are these four things. You can only see three, but there's a four on the bottom left corner for um, placements for my spear gers spear gers assembly. I had four, one larger one in the middle with four on the outside, so that with one would turn, the rest would turn, and connecting to my propellers. So those were how I got my propellers to move underneath. Then continuing with the last three parts were the eyeballs, the bottoms, and the legs. And the legs have a square filleted insert, and I had a little difficulty. I think I probably left a note on my drawings, I don't know if I did, that you would have to start with a chamfer first and then go in with the fillet after for the leg, just because I wouldn't know if I was looking at a drawing if I'd be able to tell that someone would need to use a fillet then I mean a chamfer and then a fillet after. So I would probably leave an instructional note for that. I don't know if I could recreate that using just a sketch or a drawing. And in the end, when I assembled all of my parts, I had something that looked like this, and it made me happy as an artist. I don't know if as an engineer I was happy, but as an artist I was quite satisfied. I thought it was very me, and I hope that I was a little lazy about the bottom, so it is just the one bottom that slides out all with the legs, and it comes out with a rack and pinion mate that you can see maybe in the bottom here that there's a little rack and then there's a pinion, and I had to get my professor to help me with that because it's quite difficult, the rack and pinion math and getting them to mate. And last I have my drawings just for two of them, being the tail and the full assembly, and the auto balloon listing every part along with the bill of mates. And estimated cost wise, I couldn't really, I did punch in them without like actual like research, because I think I went based off of size for pricing. I estimated probably came out to a little more than $1,000. I can't see the numbers, but that is the whole project. Thank you for listening.